webinar, It Takes an Island, Sustainability and the New Tourist. Thanks everyone so much for joining, and I'm going to very quickly introduce you to everyone. But before I do, just a couple of quick housekeeping points, please. So the session's going to be recorded. We have got an interview that we're going to start with, and then we will have 5 different presentations, and those presentations will be available on a link after this, which we'll send to everyone. The other key thing, please, is that there's a Q&A function below on your screen. Please use it and ask questions as they come to mind, and I will get to as many of them as I can at the end. So, okay, so let's get going. The first person I have to introduce you to is a man many people in Thailand will know. Dr. Ton. Dr. Ton has been incredibly influential in terms of the whole sustainability storyline, particularly related to marine environments. Anyone who knows the story of Maya Bay will know about Dr. Ton. Dr. Ton, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. สวัสดีครับ
Thank you. So let's just get going. Sustainability. How important is it? How important is it to the future of tourism in Thailand?
Oh, we are in a very beautiful country, as everybody know. We sail over nature, everybody know. But before we have a lot of problem with the mass tourism because we need a lot more and more people to earn more and more money. But in fact, it's contrast to the beautiful life, beautiful nature, beautiful sea of Thailand. So after many years of headache about so many people, we plan something to do something better. Now, as the national policy, I'm in a committee of them and also tourism committee of Thailand. We put the agenda about sustainable development in tourism. Something like we have a carrying capacity for each area, that how many people should be there in that area. We have a booking technique that now we already use it in the national park right now. If you go to Thailand, you would like to enter the national park, you have to book the queue before you arrive the national park. That is the system that we would like to put in function for many years. But now after COVID, we have a chance. And what we plan is we might not have as so many as the tourism, the visitor as before. But we plan that we will try to upgrade our tourism industry to next level. The level that we understand the nature and try to protect our sea, our jungle more than before. And we would like to do something that you can see by your own eye. We don't want it like in a workshop or in meeting or in paper anymore. It's too many paper. So we put forward in Maya Bay, in Got Yung, in Got Tai Chai, and in Similan for the carrying capacity. We don't have overnight stay on Similan anymore. Something in the action that come out 3 or 4 years before, you can see a lot of things that going on and a lot of real world thing that you can see it, you can touch it. It's not in the paper, it's not in the brainstorm, it's not in the air, whatever. What we would like to do now is act now and see it.
That sounds great. It's time to get practical. Hey, but it is, you know, the COVID's been very challenging. COVID has created lots of economic issues. So how is it possible to keep sustainability at the forefront of tourism when people are struggling, when the economy is down? You know, what would you advise?
My advice is for the economy. After people are the CEO in many places, they advise them better than me. But for the nature, for our sea, for our jungle, I can say that we are very lucky because COVID gives us some opportunity that we never have before. Something like before I calculate the carrying capacity for this bay I say that 400, but there are already 4,000 people over there. So I say 400. They ask me, what about another 3,600 where you can drop them out? who will come? Who first come first serve, or online booking or whatever? It's a lot of agency, a lot of things that make me crazy. And we plan to do it like in Maya Bay, time step by step. But we plan that if like in our plan, maybe 5 to 10 years, we will finish our carrying capacity in every highlight tourism spot. But when the COVID comes, there is no more tourists. 4,000 is go down to 0. So now I can plan again. And national park, you can see in the national park, every national park now they have a carrying capacity. We planned it before. We have a long time and we try to work out. But when COVID come in, there is like a set 0. They come to ground 0 ground, and I say 400 now, like a PP Bay, PP Islands. Now the carrying capacity that I put in is 1,500 person per day at PP Island National Park. I check in the booking on the application for booking, only around 100 people booking. So you see, it's the first time in my, as I remember, it's the first time that our carrying capacity from marine scientists and for the management of nature management or whatever is above the real world. Before that, it looked like that, but now it's come like that. And I know that the main tourism in the marine area, in the island that we're talking about today, most of them are the overseas visitors. And we cannot open to the world right now. We can use like a Thai visit Thai, something like that. But Thai visit Thai will not go to PP a lot, go to some island a lot. So it's gradually, maybe the end of this year, we can open to overseas visitor travel bubble for some place. But it will take another 1 year or 1.5 years before the number of visitors will come back. But now we have CC already. So when it come back, it will attack the CC and we can arrange. So it's the first time that we can decide the CC, we can arrange everything and we can share each other. Okay, you come first, you book on that bay 3 boat already. So you go another bay for 4 boat, okay, something like that. And it will not come, it will not be a mass tourism.
Right. So it's actually a great opportunity to take a step back and to manage how we're going to do this much better. Tell me about just quickly about Maya Bay.
I know that I have 8 minutes.
Should we open my? It's okay.
8 minutes. I remember the
special dispensations for you, Dr. Ton. Tell us quickly about Maya Bay.
This is the first thing. This is not Maya. It's the first before the story begin here. This here is Koh Yung, not far from Maya Bay, but right. It's the first time that we start to stop the tourism because they are very bad in that area. And you can see that after 3 years, after 4 years of stopping the tourism, absolutely no visitor at this island. And you can see the picture of the coral. The one is above. The above one is 16 months after cross the island. The below one is the 4 years after cross the island. You can see a lot of coral growing back in especially the shallow water, and we can calculate more than 3,000 square meters of the new coming coral. Next slide is next one. Okay, this is Maya Bay before we close it. You can see that there are a lot of boats, so many boats, and they're parking, they're anchoring, they come in the beach, and they make the sand grow around there drop on coral. You can see that most of them is dead coral. That too much in Maya Bay. I can count sometimes almost 100 speedboat park in Maya Bay. It looks like a floating market and something like that. I don't think that every the no visitor would like something like that. Come across the world to Thailand, go to Maya Bay, the world, one of the most famous bay in the world, and jump on and see another something like that on the beach. The beach that Leonardo DiCaprio used to stand alone, but when they come and see something like that, and that's why. Next one, please. That's why we have to cross it. We have to temporarily cross it. And this is the same spot. You can see that what is the main meaning of beautiful, pure nature is something like that. But we know that we have to allow some visitor to revisit Maya Bay. So we have to do a lot of things like a booking, online booking that we are working on. We will not allow people. This is a photo after Maya Bay. You after cross the Maya Bay, you will see no speedboat, and it's come back to be one of the most beautiful bay in the world. And we will do all the boardwalk. We don't allow people to walk in the jungle, in the beach forest. We will not allow people to snorkeling in the area because there are a lot of sharks. If you would like to meet and greet the shark, you can stay on your boardwalk. We have 60 sharks. And at the last time that we count, we have 108 sharks. 3 of them are mother sharks give birth in the bay. And you can see how shallow of these sharks coming in. So this is what is an evidence that why we have to stop in some area for nature to strike back. We have to allow the chance for the shark to come in, not the boat. But we know that is we cannot do every place, everywhere, because tourism sustainability is maximize the profit, minimize the impact. It's not only maximize the to protect only. So we try to do this one by one. Someone is very important spot like a Maya Bay for shark feeding ground and nursery ground. So we have to protect and don't allow boat to come in. But some area you can go in, some place you can walk in the back on the boardwalk and see a lot of shark swimming only 20 meters from your feet, but you not have to be in the water.
Okay, Dr. Ton, I'm gonna just pause you for just a moment. We've got 1 minute left, so a very quick question for you. 2 very quick questions for you. I mean, in short answers. One of them is, when should Maya Bay reopen?
Now construction is going on. It will be finished in maybe 6 to 8 months, as I plan. So in the middle of 2021, sometime right there. And
is it possible through management to create the right balance between mass tourism and sustainability?
People will not come in Maya Bay anymore. They have to go to the pier at the behind. Everyone have to walk on the boardwalk only. Cannot walk everywhere they want. And we will limit the number of visitors to 300 per 1.5 hours. And you have to book. You have to book beforehand before you arrive. You cannot only show there and come in no more.
Thank you, Dr. Ton. Inspirational stuff. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for being with us. Please hang on. There's been an avalanche of questions for you, so I'm going to get to some of those in a moment. So please hang on. I'm going to go to another inspirational character, Eric Ricarte. Eric, CEO of Green View and co-founder of FIST. Eric, what have you got for us today?
Well, that's a tough act to follow, but of course, I've got 2 things. One is some inspirational understanding of sustainable travel, and 2, of course, is some data. And I had some goggles to cope with Bill's dragon dinosaur, but remove those.
We're going to get back to that.
We'll get back to that. Yeah, right. Yeah. So thank you, everybody, and great. And that was great to hear about Maya Bay. What we want to talk about now, because it takes an island, sustainability, and the new traveler. The question of the day is, what is the new traveler and where does sustainability fit in? But when we talk sustainable travel, I wanted to actually take a step back and understand, what does sustainability mean in travel in terms of who the traveler is? So with that, I'll get to it. And if I could share my screen, and there we go. Take control here. So who is the traveler and where does it fit? First, there's the traveler that says, I need a vacation or we need a vacation. Now that traveler maybe has a lot of reasons where I want to take, why I want to go, but of the reasons or things I want to do on my vacation, that might be, and I want to spend it surrounded by natural beauty. In which case, protecting areas like Maya Bay are important because that's part of the traveler experience and motivation to travel. Traveler might also say, and we want to experience the existing or the historic local culture, which means you have to protect and preserve that culture as part of the offering. That is part of sustainable travel. But then you have those who say, we want to hold a big or a medium size or small, we want to hold a meeting somewhere. Now, they may say, I want to spend it surrounded by natural beauty. They may say a lot of other things, location, size of the ballroom, all that kind of thing, but it might be that we want to have a meeting somewhere like that. And then those who say, I want to enable attendees to experience the existing or historic local culture. So even though it's a different reason for traveling, you might have those two things, but they might mean different things for the traveler. In any case, both of those imply aspects of sustainability. And then finally, you have the person who says, I have to go on a trip for work. I don't really want to travel, but I have to do it anyway. So they may not want at all anything to do with the natural surroundings or the local culture. But the point is, they're not making the decision based on that. They have to travel. Now, there's also a couple of other things we often hear, which is first, I or we want to minimize the environmental footprint of my trip. I'm conscious of it, of the impacts, of the waste, of the carbon footprint, of the water usage, of all of that. And then you have those who may say, I or we want to make sure the money spent on this trip helps benefit local people. Now, the nexus here is important because regardless of the traveler that says, I need a vacation, I want to hold a meeting somewhere, or I have to take a trip. In any case, and for any traveler, those last two can apply. I want to minimize the environmental footprint, and I want to make sure that my trip goes to benefit local people. And those are always recurring and always possible, and they're increasing. A couple of background trends that are actually from last year, and now we're in this COVID break, but we feel they will be even stronger after this. Rafat Ali from Skift had some inconvenient truths, of which number 13 back in, I believe, 2018 said, no one cares about sustainable travel, not the industry, not the travelers. A year later, he actually walked that back and said, a lot has changed. Climate change is now top of mind. Consumers are demanding change and companies had no choice to respond. So that's the only one of his 21 inconvenient truths that he walked back. And also for Rafat to walk something back is pretty big. So we're seeing a lot of this. Quickly, 55% of travelers want more sustainable travel. Again, irrespective, the sustainability aspect goes. 73, according to booking.com, want an eco-friendly accommodation. The top concern among millennials and Gen Z, climate change and natural disasters. Millennials, we hear about millennials, important in environmental responsibility and willing to pay more. Here we see segmenting millennials and Gen Z. More than half, most always except young millennial, they value importance and they're willing to pay for it. Now we may think these are just Westerners, but look at what we see in Chinese millennials from the Skift survey. That in millennials and Gen Z, it's actually across the board more interesting and important to have locally made goods than luxury goods, signifying a big shift because local means benefiting local communities if it's done right. And it's coming. We've seen a lot of this movement before and during COVID even. Travel distribution, travel operators, OTAs, everybody getting in the game saying we need more sustainable travel options. So I'm setting up here is for the discussions that go and follow in the next presentations among my peers is mostly now in the hotel industry, but it's all about how can you really show that you're making a difference and how can you manage it and managerially apply it. And of course, in this industry of hotels, we love benchmarking. We love it, we eat it up. We want to know what are our rates, what are our occupancy, how are we doing against our neighbor, how are we doing against last month, against last week. How is our fitness center, how does our breakfast compare against our neighbors? We benchmark, that's how we work and that's how the traveler works. So we apply that to sustainability. I'm going to quickly go through these as the presentation will be available, as is the data set, which comes from the Cornell Hotel Sustainability Benchmarking Index that we coordinate, along with the Horwath Asia Pacific Sustainability Data Trends that we partner with on. And we can see that there is always a range of performance in energy, water, waste, and other things. Phuket actually happens to be the highest in median water usage per occupied room in the region. Now, some of these are urban hotels, some are resorts, but it's higher than Bali, higher than Koh Samui in the median. So there are definitely opportunities, and when you see this in context, we give rationale to improve. Now, the most important and interesting thing about the data set that we found is that there's a large gap inevitably in almost every market, meaning that if you take 100 hotels, the hotel that is performing the 25th best versus the 75th best will have a big ratio of about 2 to 1, meaning the hotel that's 25 out of 100 will be twice as efficient as the hotel that's in position 75, meaning there's a huge gap. So this is an example on real data that we see this consistently, and for example, Koh Samui, it's about 2.5, the gap in between the lower and the upper quartile benchmark. We see this in the same thing, carbon footprint follows energy for full service hotels. Water, same thing, water per occupied room. There's an opportunity in every single market because a lot of hotels fall along a different range. Now, where this translates into actual monetary opportunity is you take, for example, Bangkok. If you take a look at that range and say, based on the cost of energy and the cost of water, if I plan a hotel in Bangkok with this segmentation, this stars, this floor area, and you go against it, the efficient scenario has a massive savings that we found in every market. And by giving this data, we enable hotels and the industry to make better, more informed decisions. And it's not just about the metrics and the hard metrics, it's about how do you get there. So, for example, we can benchmark conservation practices. According to our Green Lodging Trends report, for example, we know that a guest room digital thermostat is very important. Chiang Mai is lagging at guest room digital thermostats compared to the rest. Variable frequency drives, that's where our colleague Matt's going to come in and just crush it later. Pattaya is lacking in VFDs. Koh Samui as well on the lower end, whereas Bangkok has this more in place. Gray water reuse. Phuket actually has highest gray water reuse, though in the region, it's still pretty low. Soap donation, things like this, we're seeing soap donation, it varies by market. And so this is not just a matter of is it a best practice or not, but let's look at intelligence and see where do we need to improve as a country, as a destination, and as a hotel company. Food waste, finally, one of the big ones. Food waste, needs some more work in food waste, Phuket, but we're seeing there's a lot more of this. Now, these trends are a little bit old because we've delayed our latest survey, but we encourage everybody to participate and help improve and see how things have changed in the last 2 years. So with that, I will then turn it back over to esteemed colleague David Johnson to let the questions roll in.
Eric, thank you. Thanks. Some really, really cool and really important data. Thanks very much. Who have we got up next? We've got Dirk de Kuyper up next, who is the CEO of S Hotels and Resorts. And Dirk's going to talk to us about marine tourism conservation. Dirk, please.
Hi, David. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Depends a bit where you are in this part of the world nowadays. Maybe just a brief introduction on S Hotels and Resorts. We are a public listed company on the SET in Thailand. We predominantly a hotel investment and a hotel management company, and we have about 39 properties. And we have pretty much a global footprint from UK all the way to Fiji. So we have quite some rich coverage. Now, I guess what we've heard before from Eric and Dr. Ton, it's very much us being into the private sector and investors. Obviously, sustainability is a key component for us. And we have made it part of our DNA in the company with Sing Estate and also as Hotels and Resorts. And we have created kind of an engaging approach towards sustainability that all our clients and our guests are fully aware of what we are doing. So we're very much engaged into following the UN or the SDG, the Sustainability Development Goals. So that's where we are focusing ourselves on to have a kind of benchmarking and guidelines, how we can apply on all the activities that we are doing. Now, we just heard earlier from Dr. Ton on what's happening in Maya Bay. And okay, of course, we heard about the shark story and you don't want to put your feet in there. Well, Maldives, we have a beautiful story. We have dolphins. So we have tons of them, pots of dolphins roaming around our properties that we didn't spot them before. So this is very much done by our marine conservators that we are having at property itself. So they are very engaged in really monitoring a bit of all the activities, that's what's going on. So indeed, COVID, how serious and how severe it has been overall, but from a natural and a rehab point of view, we see some significant improvements on that one. Also kind of exclusive on turtles, what we've discovered in the Maldives. Now, we came up with a bit of a unique concept on how we can really share our sustainability efforts towards our guests. And we've developed and came up with the idea of a marine discovery center. So this is kind of our corporate initiatives. We very much focused on the SDG 14, life below water, as of course, sustainability. There are so many components, and you have to start off with something that is manageable and that is tangible and that you can measure at the end of the day of all your sustainability efforts that you are putting in place as a company. It's very much engaging what I mentioned before. It is managed by a marine biologist, so they are the specialist in managing, but also getting our guests involved in it. It's very much a hands-on experience, so whereby the guests can physically touch it. There are exhibitions, there are displays, there are fish tanks, etc. So it is very much geared for all type of ages, from young up to the elderly, for everybody. And we really want to make it a kind of an educational experience. And probably one of the key points that we would like to make it's very much geared towards future generations. So we trying as well to give our guests a part of an educational component. If they stay with us and they go back, that they can share experiences. So in this case, in PP, there is a lot of exhibitions on Maya Bay. There is a lot of activities that can be shared, and you can take it back home to you. Now, we've deployed quite a bit of our marine discovery centers. PP was the first one. So this is kind of 5 minutes away from Maya Bay in our resort. We built 2 centers in the Maldives. One is the Marine Discovery Center, and one is the Maldives Discovery Center, and the next one is in Samui. So very much kind of deploying it throughout the estate that we wanted to continue to commit to it. If we can move on to the following slides. So that gives a bit of the key functions of what we're building up in. So we took it very serious as a company. We actually hired a professional company out of the UK. They are specialized in designing museums. So we went to that level, and we did quite a significant investment as well. And the one in the Maldives, we spent about $1 million on building it up. So we really took it very serious, and we saw it as well as kind of a long-term investments towards educational, our guests and the local communities, but as well that people can take something back home. It works with QR codes. It has all, I mean, the fancy touches as what I would call it. It's even translated in, I think it's 12 languages. So you download the app while you're walking around into the Maldives Center, and it gives you all the educational parts. So it's life below water, but also related to communities, and that's a bit what we're seeing for us. Maldives, in that case, everybody talks only about what happens below the water, but there is little knowledge about the Maldivian people, the community, their history, and so on. So we took that opportunity as well to deploy and to develop more. So at least gives you a little bit more insight on the depth of the Maldivian history, and also supporting the local communities. So we highly engage them as well in all the activities that we are doing. If we can move on. So that's part of the activities is the lab. So here it's very much hands-on where you can experiencing coral propagation. And it's very much of nurturing in the corals and then put them back into the ocean and building up the coral reefs surrounding our properties, but also kind of bring it over to surrounding areas that we want to contribute heavily on it. So kind of we're encouraging our guests to be highly involved, to be highly engaged, and they can contribute as well a part to the nature to sending it back. So what I mentioned on the community, so we really like to bring in the communities, and that's everywhere. This is in the Maldives. We have been scouting around 2 very remote islands in the Maldives and bringing those Maldivian people in. they have their own handicrafts and so on. So we're really working with them that they can exhibit all their products, but also an opportunity to sell. So we create an income for them that they see that they are part of the development and bringing up the tourism. What people have been saying about the marine discovery, I mean, it's quite unique, I must say. So it's very engaging, it's very educational. It's also very experiential, and that's also part of our DNA as a company. So we would like to share experiences with our guests, not only about sun and sea and beaches, but take a component with you, and what we've heard earlier as well from Eric's presentation, towards sustainability, what the generations are looking for. That's very much where we're gearing up to ourselves for it. And the strong point is that we're very committed to that point on the sustainability efforts that we're putting in place. If we can just wrap up. So that's just to share a bit with everyone that it really works. So PP, we've got about 2,200 visitors, but more impressive numbers is on the Maldives, on Crossroads, where we have the Discovery Center and where we have the Maldives, the Marine and the Maldives Discovery Center. So we have quite significant numbers. It's about 13,000 visitors, and we only opened it late last year on our project in October. So it does show that there's a high interest. We see as well, it's for our guests, but also for the local residents, the Maldivian people, that they are very interested in their own history. And we're working together as well with the Ministry of Culture and a few other ministries in the Maldives on that one. But the feedback is, what we mentioned earlier, is phenomenal. It's great. And I think that's part, what we're saying, our contribution and working with all these partners together, that we wanted to share some great stories. And at the end of the day, from a private sector and investments companies, it is possible to do, it's feasible to do. It asks commitments for sure. And everybody has to be fully engaged and, as I said, committed to do all these efforts. So I guess, David, that would wrap it up a bit for my presentation. For those who would like to have more information about all these activities, just download the QR code or visit our website. And I think there's a lot more stories that we're more than happy to share with the audiences as we speak.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Dirk. That's fantastic. I think it's Dr. Ton. He's probably got the quote of the day so far with "Nature Strikes Back." But your message on community and how community complements the whole sustainability storyline, I think, is really important. Thank you. Right, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to Matt Carlisle. Matt Carlisle is the MD of XCO2 in Singapore. Matt, welcome. What have you got for us?
Thanks, David. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks very much. Let me just share my screen. Let's see if that works. Perfect. Yeah, David, thanks very much. Real pleasure to be here, and great to hear my colleagues. Some really interesting stuff. So I'm going to take you through our process today on integrating and optimizing passive design measures to help create a sustainable hotel room or resort villa. So what we've heard from Dirk and from Eric more about data trends and about policies, mine's a bit more about a specific process. So there we go. Excellent. So what is sustainable design? So put simply, it's understanding the local climate and vernacular architecture, understanding what makes people feel comfortable, and then how do you design your current building to provide these conditions? And to be honest, this approach of designing to your clients is nothing new. Traditionally, people everywhere have been using passive and sustainable design to make the dwellings more comfortable. The difference is today is that we can use computer modeling to test, quantify, and optimize the design. So you can make the design you can make it more effective. You can optimize the passive design. And basically the benefits for your hotel, your resort are that, okay, you'll require less cooling or heating, so you'll have lower energy consumption. And that's going to directly impact your, lower your environmental impact. You're going to improve your guest experience because guests can choose whether they want to use the mechanical system or whether they want to use a more passively driven method. And of course, you're going to reduce your peak loads, which means you're going to reduce your capital costs. So these are all benefits from taking this approach. And the process can be applied to new buildings, to retrofits, from urban hotels to remote resorts. It works for everything. So what is the process? So 3 steps: review, model, and integrate. So the first step, you look at your site and your climate. So what does that tell you about how you should design the building? And once you've got that shortlist, you should start workshopping immediately with your architect and the team. So come up with a range of passive design measures that you want to test that you think are going to be effective. Next, you need to build your computer model. So with as much data as you can get your hands on to make it as realistic as possible. And then you start simulating and evaluating the design measures. So what's the impact? What's the benefit? And then lastly, you're looking at the selection of design measures. So what's been the most effective and how can you optimize it further? And then lastly, incorporating into the building design. So this is our three-step process that we use. And I think probably it's easiest to demonstrate with an example project. So this is a resort that we're working on in the Philippines at the moment. And we used this exact process when we were helping the team to design the resort villas. So first step, we looked at the site and the climate. So the site is in Cebu. So we knew that it's going to be a hot and very humid climate. We knew from the windrows diagram that we can see in the bottom left-hand corner here, where our prevailing winds were going to be. We knew that shading was going to be key on this design. And we could tell from the psychometric chart that you can see here just to the right of the windrows, that things like a natural ventilation strategy is going to be pretty effective. So armed with this sort of shortlist, we started workshopping with the architects. And these are, I guess, some examples of things that we took along to these workshops. So sketches on different options for the ventilation design, whether they're used for day or nighttime. We looked at an opportunity where we might be able to lower the roof to help us with the shading. And we used these sort of rapid modeling tools that we brought within the workshop as well to help us tease out some of these ideas. And the output is that you come up with a list of design measures that you want to investigate. And these are everything from the macro scale, so looking at the massing or the orientation of the building, down to the micro stuff. So like, what is the glazing specification going to be? What's the color of the glass? And so once you've done your initial analysis and you've got your measures that you want to test and you've agreed with the team, the next step really is to start looking at modeling. So this is the thermal model that we would build for the resort. Now, it's not as sleek and beautiful as the renders you'd probably get from architects, but the devil is in the detail, and we'll include information from the architectural design, from local codes, construction methodology, and even like site constraints and impacts to try and make the model as realistic as possible. And it's at this stage really that the model starts to give us back information as well. So we can see here a breakdown of like conduction heat on different surfaces, which is going to help us kind of augment and modify the design. So because we've got a bit of a short time this afternoon, I won't go through all the sort of 8 to 12 measures which we would normally do, and we'll just focus on 2. So the first one is looking at natural ventilation. So we did a flow path diagram for 2 of the main orientations for this villa, and that helped us come up with basically 4 main options for how we could improve the natural ventilation. And they were putting openings in the building. So we have the red square you can see here is a rear window at the back of the villa. We have a floor-to-ceiling south louver panel here on the southern side, and we have clerestory windows which are above the door frames on all sides, and then finally a gable roof, which you can't really see here on plan, but is up at the top of the building here. So the question is which window or combination of the windows was going to make the space comfortable so that people didn't have to put on the AC, which is going to make the building more sustainable. So we modeled that and we tested it, and we can see here from the results that when we added that back window at the end, we got a huge improvement in the amount of energy that's required for cooling. And subsequently, we added then the side window, the side louver on the side in the green, we got more improvement. And then interestingly, on the last 2, we saw an improvement, but to be honest, there wasn't much in it between the 2. We added the clerestory windows, but we didn't get that much of an impact from the gable windows, suggesting that either one and not both would actually be necessary for the design. And you can see from the table on the side, what we're doing is not only translating this into energy saved on a per square meter basis, but also into like projected dollar savings per year. And this is important because a little bit like what Eric was talking about is that it allows the team to get like a tangible feel of what the benefit would be and what for these measures. And it's really important. And so the second example is diving a little bit deeper. So this one we were looking at the glazing specification for the villa. So changing the G value, which is a measure of how easily sun can ingress in through the glass. And you can see as you improved or if you decreased the G value, you've also got a decrease in cooling load. And again, we simulate all these measures and we look at what the combined impact is. So if we skip forward and imagine that we've done this for all the 8 measures that we did on this project, this is what we might come up with. And we can see from both the graph on the left and the table on the right-hand side that we've got like significant improvement in the amount of cooling demand and the amount of cooling consumption for this property. And the key outcome here is selecting which of the measures are going to be correct or most appropriate for the project. So for example, like there might be some discussions around the aesthetic impact, like with changing the G value from 0.45 down to 0.3. That might have impacts on how the guests feel in the space, and something we need to discuss with the architect. And likewise, it might be something like adding double glazing, which is going to have a big cost impact. And what's the ROI? What's the CapEx impact? So these are the types of things which we discuss with the team before deciding what to take forward. And the benefit really is that it allows us to start doing like an early stage value engineering exercise. Some clients will be after zero carbon, and they'll have the money to be able to invest in that. But other clients don't. And the process is more about finding the most cost-effective path. And so this is a very effective tool for doing that. And the last step really, and this is probably the most important, is integrating into the design. So you can see here some changes might be actually with the architectural design, but we'll also be giving guidance on what should go into the architectural specification and the MEP specification. And the thing is that this last step is the most important. Like, the guidance needs to be incorporated into the design, because if it doesn't, then there's no difference. Otherwise, it's just a paper exercise. And this is the real reason why workshopping with the team, getting their input and engagement is really, really key to this process. And then lastly, I guess the process should really be similar when you're starting to zoom out and look more at, I guess, the sustainability or the infrastructure design for the entire project. And you should be adopting a similar approach. So test and qualify the value of a technology. So on top of some of the tech that Eric talked about, like, variable speed drives, digital thermostats, like this resort will have, a large PV array, less space for future battery storage, high efficiency cooling and domestic hot water, on-site recycling plant, water recycling plant for doing the irrigation. So again, it's looking quite holistically at the design. So yeah, so just quickly, so just to summarize, basically the process is that you should be reviewing your site and your vernacular, figuring out what you want to test, model, evaluate, and then integrate into the design. And your benefits will be you'll lower your consumption, you'll lower your energy usage, and you'll lower your environmental impact, and you'll improve your guest experience and your guest comfort. And just certainly on program, right? Essentially, the earlier you do this type of process in the stage, is going to be more beneficial. You've got more opportunity to impact the design. But really, at any stage of the design, you can have influence. And like I said, it works for both new build and retrofit projects. The process can be exactly the same. So yeah, that's it for today. I'll hand you back to David. Thanks very much.
Matt Carlisle, thank you so much. Really good practical stuff there. Just a quick question before we go to Claudine. Eric, what were those goggles all about that you wore earlier? Was there any reason for that? Eric?
Goggles?
Goggles.
Oh, goggles.
You had swimming goggles on or diving goggles. Any explanation?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit of sadness in my heart because, and Bill, obviously with the dinosaur, we're gonna have to take FIST virtual this year, whereas it was the best and most and biggest and most fun and most passionate sustainability conference in Asia, and we're gonna be doing it September 7th remotely, virtually for the most part this year. So we're gonna have to have some virtual fun. So I'm just practicing with Bill there.
I see. So that was the way to get your plug in. Okay, good work there.
I should work in PR.
That worked really well. That was unrehearsed, guys, by the way. Okay, Claudine Nagaya, Sustainability Director at Blue Tree. Blue Tree is an attraction that's being built in Phuket from the ground upwards. It's absolutely fascinating. So from the ground upwards, with sustainability at its heart. Claudine, would you like to jump on, unmute, and share with us your experience, please?
Yep, sure. Thank you, David. Can you see my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit this afternoon, as David said, about Blue Tree as a development, and in a more sort of practical terms, what have we implemented? What are we doing to make it a sustainable visitor attraction? So let me start with a quick introduction to the project. It's a leisure and entertainment destination spread across 140 rai in Phuket, and it offers a range of leisure activities, dining options, entertainment for tourists and locals of all ages. The project has a strong focus on the local community, sustainability, and on education. So just a quick overview of some of the facilities. This is the shopping village. So there are coffee shops, restaurants, gift shops and clothes shops. We have a spa, a pharmacy, and a zero waste refill shop as well. This is the arena, the outdoor entertainment area. So there's a stage there for performances and concerts, alfresco dining area, and we also have markets, outdoor markets as well. And then these are some of the leisure activities that are on offer. So running trails, mountain bike trails, adrenaline activities like rock climbing, zip line, slip and fly, and then a lagoon for water sports activities. So what makes this a sustainable destination? First of all, the design concept emphasizes open air spaces, natural ventilation, and the buildings are using a lot of bamboo, both for the building and also the interior design. The Crystal Lagoon itself uses very innovative technology. The filtration system is very energy efficient, and it uses 2% of the energy of a regular pool filtration system. Requires 100 times less chemicals than a conventional swimming pool. And it's also very efficient in terms of water use. So it's a closed system, minimal water losses. And so far, any losses that we've experienced through evaporation have actually been able to be compensated for by natural rainwater. Okay. We're incorporating renewable energy into the project. So we're installing solar panels on one of the roofs, and hopefully in the future we'll expand that to other roofs as well. A fleet of electric vehicles for back of house operations and also transporting the customers around the site. We've used energy efficient equipment, LED lighting throughout the project. And we also have, in the air conditioned spaces that we do have, we have a policy where the minimum temperature should be set at 25 degrees. Moving on to water. We have a rainwater collection system which collects water off the roof and sends it to an underground storage tank. We also have stormwater drainage system and grey water treatment system, which has been mentioned already. And we store all the water then in these two kind of large retention lakes on the property for reuse in the project for irrigation. Water efficiency, so all of the toilets, showers, taps, etc. are all low flow. And most of them are on a kind of movement center, so they can't be accidentally left running. On waste, we focus very much on reducing waste in the first place. So, for example, all employees are given a reusable water bottle and a tote bag, and we have drinking water refill stations around the property for people to refill their bottles. The restaurants serve drinking water in glass bottles instead of in plastic. And coming soon, we also have an on-site system for producing our own drinking water and bottling it in glass bottles to reduce the transportation of water to and from the site, and then the sending off of the glass bottles for recycling as well. And then no plastic straws, plastic utensils, no plastic bags in any of the retail outlets. And we're even trying to kind of replace the plastic bin liners where possible, or remove them entirely if that's feasible. These are some of the alternatives that we're using. So glass for tomato ketchup and mayonnaise instead of using plastic sachets. The mango smoothie here is in a bio PET cup. And down the bottom there, you'll see some of the different kinds of straws. So we've got paper straws, and the orange ones there are actually made out of rice. So when you've finished your cocktail, you can actually eat that straw if you want to. These are some of the examples of upcycling and kind of finding some creative ways to reuse some of the sort of materials that would otherwise be wasted. So we've got table decorations, furniture that has been made out of leftover construction materials. The Christmas tree in the middle there is all from leftover construction materials, and about 800 used Coca-Cola cans that were used to make the decorations. And then the bottom corner there is an example of some of the projects that our kids club have been involved in. They've been really, really creative in turning cardboard and packaging materials and leftover plastic bottles and bottle tops into play equipment and games and activities for the kids. Waste separation, we have basically a two-stage waste separation system. The first is the public bins, and then the second is the back of house, where the waste management team will sort of sort all the recyclable materials for collection. Probably very similar to what most hotels are doing. And then we also have an on-site composting machine, which any of the food waste that we're not able to kind of avoid completely is processed through this machine, produces compost, and then that's then used on the chef's kitchen garden to grow herbs that are then used in the restaurant. We try as far as possible to use sustainable and environmentally friendly products, seasonal, organic, locally produced products. The seafood comes from a fishery with an international sustainability certification. Similarly, paper and tissue products are all recycled or from sustainably managed sources. And we have eco-friendly hand wash, shower gel, laundry detergents, and cleaning products. And we set up an in-house bottle refill system for the tenants for the cleaning products. So basically, we gave them kind of a little starter pack. And when that detergent is finished, they're able to come and refill their bottle at a very low price. So this kind of helps them to, to make the switch over to eco-friendly products, and helps to kind of compensate for the cost of doing that and make it cost effective. Okay, education is something that, we feel that we have a bit of an opportunity with a project and the facilities that we've got to try and raise awareness of sustainability issues and climate change and ocean conservation. So as part of our events program, we've had movie nights and photo exhibitions on ocean conservation issues. We host study visits for local school groups where they're able to come and have a look around the site and sort of learn about putting sustainability principles into practice. And we've hosted workshops and seminars on sustainability for, local hoteliers and other groups. And then coming on to this future project, which we have in the pipeline, we're planning to develop a sustainability learning center on the property. And this will be a space where we can really increase the amount of educational projects that we're doing. So we want to be able to host workshops, seminars and events, team building retreats, all focusing on sustainability. So the facilities will include conference space, exhibition space, a permaculture garden, a precious plastics recycling workshop, among other things. We plan to use sustainable design techniques such as passive cooling and some of the other techniques that Matt was talking about. And as far as possible, to build the buildings themselves with low impact building materials and repurposed materials. So essentially the buildings themselves kind of become part of the education process. And we hope to be self-sufficient in terms of energy and water by generating what we need for the buildings in the project, and hopefully send zero waste to landfill. So these are some of the activities that we're hoping to run: permaculture courses, gardening, composting workshops, farm-to-table cooking classes, and recycling workshops that I mentioned before. Okay, and yeah, that's it. That's just a very sort of quick overview into some of the practical steps that that Blue Tree has been taking to reduce its environmental footprint.
No, that's fantastic, Claudine. Thank you so much. Just like Dr. Toren was saying at the beginning, it's time to put away the documents and time to put away all the brainstorming and get stuff done. Talking about getting stuff done, Bill Barnett, you like to get stuff done. What have you got for us today?
All right, thanks, David, and welcome. I'm here on the island of Phuket. I can't get off the island. I'd really like to travel. My wife would like me to travel. My children would like to move. Even our dogs and the rabbits want me to travel. Please travel. Please leave the house. So, hopefully it's not always going to be an island. I want to go to another island. Maybe I want to go to Bali. Maybe I want to go to Palawan. But that's all about it. Today, we're all talking about the new normal. I'm so fucking sick of this term. But even by having sustainability, by having a sustainability event, that's wrong. You know what's wrong with that? Because that's absolute bullshit. Because at the end of the day, why should we have a sustainability? Because what we talk about as sustainability should be the new normal, right? What have we learned from this time out that we've had? I think it's been a really valuable time, because when you assess Dr. Ton talked about before, Dirk showed pictures of what's going on. The environment is going back to the way it was, you know, just the actual impact of tourism and everything else. I earn my living from tourism, and it's important to everybody on these panels and everything else, but we understand also the damage we do to these destinations. And when we talk about sustainability, what everybody has shown today within their talks should be the new normal. That should be what we do every day. It shouldn't be unique. It shouldn't be a special event. It should be a special panel. It shouldn't have anything special about it. It's just common sense. I think that's what's so important about what we're talking about today. You know, what we have coming up on September 7th, Eric kind of picked me there in terms of talking about our Phuket Hotels Island Sustaining Tourism. Now that was organized with the Phuket Hotels Association. Anthony Lark here is the president as well. It's become Asia's biggest sustainability event for hospitality. And what we decided this year is on September 7th, we're gonna have a virtual all-day event. We're gonna have an exhibition. We're gonna have master classes, okay? It's about educating as well. It's about doing things at a great big event. We hope, last year we had over 1,000 people. This year we want to get it even bigger in terms of that because we're embracing this. And we want to teach people and have a free forum to show what people can learn and how to educate this process. So sustainability becomes the new normal. You know, that's so important to us as well. So September 7th, we're going to be talking about this later on. We're going to be emailing you to sign up for that event. That's going to be a full day event for hospitality. How can hotels do sustainability better? How can they educate? How can they have these great practices? Great offering for exhibitors also on that. So it's a great resource, you know, too. I think something else that we wanted to talk about today is education, right? You know, now it's always good trying to teach education. We look at our panel, somebody else, we're all old people, right? Sorry, in terms of that. You know, who should we be training? You know, that's why I've got the mini me today, okay? This is the mini me because what we understand is we've screwed up. How do we make it right the second time around? And, you know, with the mini me, you know, he's a smart guy. You know, being an American, I know how challenged we are, but he's wearing a mask, right? That could be a great lesson for somebody in maybe Washington, D.C. or something else. You know, wear the mask, right? It's the ability to teach people to do things that make sense. And for sustainability, what the Phuket Hotels Association is performing is the Green Planet Learning Hub Initiative. Now, this is going to be at the Blue Tree. And the Blue Tree, again, it's not a pitch for them or anything else, but they've given us an area where we're going to create a sustainability educational initiative for Thai kids. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be following in the footsteps. When you see, don't do plastic, don't do this, teach the children that, right? Do it the first time around and get it right. And so we're trying to educate 100 a week in terms of 8 to 15-year-olds coming in learning sustainable practices. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones to carry the message forward to the decades ahead. They're the ones to carry the message back to their parents, say this is the right thing to do. And they're the ones to connect it to tourism. I think that's so important. So we're trying to have this initiative here in Phuket because we understand putting it back to your neighborhood. And again, we're trying to raise money right now for this initiative. We're doing this because we understand that education changes things, right? It teaches you to do things like wearing the mask, learn to do something different. So again, when we're trying to raise this money for this initiative, we're saying this year is going to support the Green Planet Initiative. And again, we're going to have donations and our exhibition money is going to go 100% towards this initiative as well. So why are we doing this? Because the Phuket hotels understand that without sustainability, without anything like this, we're not going to have a business, okay? We come from an island that has over 9 million visitors a year. How can that be sustainable? You saw the impact in Maya Bay and everything else. How can we have a sustainable footprint? It's manageable, but it takes thinking. And tourism needs to start thinking about the impact they have on their community and the impact they have on the generations ahead and being responsible and making this the new normal. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise 3.1 million baht in terms of this program, which will, again, within 1 year, we're going to have almost 5,000 students go through the education process as well as these hotels. We have 75 hotels in the Phuket Hotel Association. What we're saying is not unique.
You're gone. You have to come here.
What?
You're gone.
What's happened?
You're frozen.
Gone.
Okay. So I think this goes back. I lost you there for a minute, David, but in terms of that, again, this is why this is so important. So the Green Planet Learning Hub, again, we're looking for sponsors out there. We're looking for people to help us, in that initiative. So again, this is what we're looking for. start with the educational process, and that's why that's important. David, back to you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill. It's all about the young folks and getting the education process right. That's such a good message. I'm going to run through just
David, yeah. Anybody who's listening now, we're putting our connection up here again. 100% of this money goes back to the Green Planet Learning Hub, and we're going to get this operating this year, and that's our commitment. You know, so that's why it's so important. So thank you for that.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Bill. It's very, 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 very important initiative. I'm just going to run through a couple of quick questions, please. And we're going to start with Dr. Ton. Dr. Ton, you still with us? Oh. Dr. Ton?
Okay, I get back. Yeah.
Dr. Ton, hi, and welcome back. Just a very quick question for you, please. In fact, one big question and one small question. One is, this has come up quite a few times, is that do you really think that COVID is going to change the way we behave and the way we take sustainability more seriously? That's the first question. And then a more of a micro question is on PP. They were saying it's very well to get Maya Bay sorted out, but what about other issues like the sewage? So just a couple of quick questions there. So a big question, a micro question. COVID-19, is it going to change us?
Your micro question is not a micro, it's a macro question. Don't misunderstand. The first thing, I will make it short. For the COVID, it will make us change because the behavior of visitor, the number of visitor, a lot of things coming on. It's a big chance that but the COVID cannot change everything and anything. We people can take that opportunity, take that chance and change it. So it depends on you, not depend on COVID. COVID only give you a chance. But I promise you that as much as I concern in many, many projects, I will try my best because I wait for something like this for more than 30 years. Something that sets zero, something that I can plan and something ahead, not only rushing more and more people and ask me how to make the sea, clean sea, whatever. It's a big problem, but I guarantee you that I will do my best because this is the chance of the lifetime. That's the first question. The second question is might be very happy for everybody around PP or use PP as a tourism destination, because I just talked to the government and he said they said that the organization that take care of the wastewater on PP Island, we work it for 5 years and now we have a budget already. So we will build the sewage plant on the PP Island. May start this year or next year, the early of next year, and we will all the water, all the wastewater on PP Dawn will be treated before let it go to the sea. So it will be, I cannot say that 100% treated, but I can say that it will be much better than this because we will try to use something like a zero discharge. So the area on the bay that they have a very dirty sand or something, it will gone because we will use try to use a recycle all water on PP community, and we will build it's underground also. So we will try to build a small green spot on CPP above the water treatment plant and underground. It will cost a lot, maybe more than 10 million US dollar. As far as I'm concerned, but the people organization said that they already got the budget from the government and they will start. So PP will be the first place that we will put something to work on the wastewater, and we hope that the model from PP will go to other places around Thailand, because now we have an organization that will work very hard with the community. Before this organization belong to the national minister of national and environment, which are not working. So we move the organization to the another community organization, so they will work together with the community, and we hope at Patong, at Got Samui, and also Got Summit and other area, Ao Nang, something like that will change, but PP will be the first, and we will see something from PP next year.
Thank you, Dr. Ton. That's absolutely fantastic. Dirk, a question for you, please. You know, it's great. It's great to see. It's great to see you investing in sustainability. But why is it taking so long? This has come up a few times in the questions. Why is it taking so long, do you think, for the industry to really take action? And how can there be more investment into sustainability?
Yeah, I guess, David, just from the industry and the hospitality, focus was always about being service minded and so on. And sustainability points has been actually developed only quite the last couple of years. Because I think the key thing is always there is costs involved. So there is a cost to the business, which most of the time from an investment or operators is always difficult to take that on. So now I think everybody realizes, and this is kind of what our guests are asking for, is moving forward, for saying, what are you doing for sustainability? So obviously it gets a lot of more attention and focus in the business, that we have to listen to our guests. So what they want to see, what they would like to do. But also from us as investors, it's good that you need to understand what is your contribution on sustainability efforts, and particularly looking long term. So we are not doing businesses that is overnight businesses. We're thinking long term ahead, and anything that we are doing, investments, and we saw on design and so on, they are very clearly factored into our business module. And again, this is for long term thinking. So I guess that's probably what I recommend for everyone is, if you build up, if you invest and you deploy, think long term. There is a cost to it, but your returns is going to be beneficial and a lot. And that's how we see it in putting moving our businesses forward.
Thanks, Dirk. That's great. Matt, a couple for you, please. Just very quickly. They're quite technical, these questions. So they're going over to you. Biomimicry. How is biomimicry a part of the process? In terms of sustainable builds? That's one question. And the other question is, how can tropical resorts use dehumidifiers and no ACs? A couple of quick ones, please. We're running quite short, so so short with your answer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries. On biomimicry, I think probably like the way it needs to be is just part of an exercise that the design team does at concept stage, where they just sit back and like have a look at some examples. So we've been on design teams where we're working on sort of taller buildings, and we've been discussing about how to look at openings in the building so it looks like a termite mound. Because, you know, you have those large termite mounds in Africa which have ventilation ports on the side, and they actually work like a chimney effect. And so you can use those types of things to basically try and, I guess, give you design pointers, or give you inspiration as to how you want to shape and morph the design. As to the question about how you actually make it as part of the design for every single building, I think it has to be done on a case-by-case basis. It's an exciting thing to do, and we should definitely do it more as an industry. For dehumidification, yes. So we've looked at this on a number of resorts too, particularly for spaces which actually just need to be dehumidified and not cooled, like linen storage, towel storage in housekeeping spaces. They need to be kept dry, so you don't have mold drying, but they don't need to be kept cool. They're just kept cool as a way of keeping them dry, if that makes sense. There's definitely an energy saving in doing that, because you only need to cool the air to the dew point in order to dehumidify it. But a lot of the time, it's not practiced widely on resorts, because people just choose to put in the same air conditioning unit that they put in a building into their housekeeping. So the answer is yes, it could be used. It's just not widely practiced. And I suspect it's probably just because people don't think about it.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Matt. That's absolutely great. Claudine, a final question for you. And there's been a lot of plaudits for your work, particularly the Eco Hub, in terms of bringing it closely into the educational process. And the question is regarding certifications. Is your work, I mean, are you looking for any particular certifications so that actually what you're doing can be can be marketed, can be important. People are asking, would you go for lead? Would you do some of these other things? So this was a question from the floor for you.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Like, we're actually a very kind of young development. So we only opened in September 2019, and we were only open then for 6 months, unfortunately, before COVID-19 and the shutdown happened. Most of these certification systems actually require you to have at least kind of 1 year worth of data to show then that you can sort of make improvements and sort of reduce your energy, reduce your water consumption, and those sorts of things. So it's you know, something like EarthCheck, I think, would potentially be something that we would look into the future. You know, but right now, look, we're still implementing, we're still developing, we're still kind of, you know, building some areas of the project. So I think it's a little bit early at this stage, but yeah, maybe in the future that will be something that we will go down that road.
Sure, thanks, Claudine. I think people from the hospitality sector, they're looking for the sorts of things that maybe they can do. Yeah. So, Nature Strikes Back. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone: Dr. Ton, Dirk, Bill, Claudine, Matt, and I think Erica's gone. Thank you all so much for the session today. It's been really valuable. Please remember, everyone who's still online, that we're going to be sending a link to you. You can download the presentations and you can listen to the re-recording. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. ขอบคุณครับ
Okay, thanks everyone.